Hi, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to look at John 15. I love this chapter. I'm going to read a lot of it. I might have a couple of very silent moments where I'm skipping over some of the verses that, I don't want to dive too deeply into, but as always, read the whole chapter, read the whole book, know who's talking, who they're talking to, the context. Don't just take my word for it or anyone else's word for it. Look it up. There have absolutely been times where I've seen people quote Bible verses and I've looked at the Bible verse and it doesn't even say that at all. It doesn't even have the context right. So don't repost anything without checking it, and always check to see what they're talking about. People take Bible verses out of context all the time. Keep in mind what Satan did when he took Jesus out to tempt him. I think it was 30 days. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. After he was baptized, Satan tempted Jesus. So make sure that you read the actual verse, okay, before you just see somebody quote something and you see that verse doesn't exist or is reworded. An example would be, it says, people quote, money is the root of all evil. But in fact, it's the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So money itself is not evil. But the love of it. Where's our heart? Are we seeking money? Are we seeking God? Is our focus in what we do and what drives us money? Or is it God? God will supply the money. All the money says. Anyway, so what we're going to get into here, John chapter 15. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit. That's us, okay? While every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so it will be even more fruitful. So sometimes things hurt. Sometimes we have lessons that we need to learn. Sometimes things don't go our way. If we're seeking God, if we're spending time with him and something doesn't work out, look for the lesson. Try not to have to relearn it. If you've ever seen somebody have to go through something and go through something and go through something over and over and over, and they're just not getting it, and you're like, wow, how are you not getting this? Try to look for what you're not getting, okay? That's what I always try to do when I get a hard lesson, especially if it's something that's very prayed over and I've put it in God's hands and I've asked him for help in it and it didn't work out. I pray and I seek, what can I learn from this so that I don't have to keep trying to get that lesson, okay? Because he does prune us so that we bear even more fruit, and those who don't bear fruit are cut off. So there's no lukewarm. There's no like, hey, I'm a Christian, but I never talk to God. Hey, I'm a Christian, but I don't love anybody. Hey, I'm a Christian, but I don't serve anyone. I don't do anything for anyone else. I don't consider anyone else. I don't love anyone else in my actions, in my words, in my heart. I don't pray for anyone else. I pray for me, and God's just my big genie in the sky. Well, that's just you talking to you, because God's not a genie. He's the creator. He's the maker of us all. It says, you are already clean because the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. So we don't get any results in serving God unless we remain with God. That's through prayer, reading our Bible, having our quiet time. I shoot for a quiet time every day. I don't make it every day, but I make it more times than not because I shoot for every day. Going to church, I try to go every week. I don't go every week. Sometimes I watch it online. Sometimes I don't. But I try. And so I make it more times than not. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. Self-explanatory. I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, he is like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up and thrown into the fire and burned. Jesus is the way to heaven, the truth of this life, and the life that we have. When we are separating ourselves from him, when we're not following his commands, when we're not seeking him and we're going off on our own, we can expect that we're not only looking out just for ourselves or those nearest and dearest to us, but we're not bearing any fruit. We're not getting fed. We have our soul, we have our spirit. That's not getting fed. Okay, that's withering, that's dying. Just like our body needs nutrients, needs food, needs sleep, our soul needs Jesus, and that's the only way to feed it. if you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask for whatever you wish and it will be given to you. Now keep in mind, if we're seeking God and we're spending time with him regularly and we're reading his living word and we're applying it to our lives and we're practicing the things that it's talking about rather than what we want to do, our hearts, our minds are going to be focused on the things that are important to God. So when we're praying for things, we're going to be praying for them more of from God's point of view than our own selfish point of view, more of what's beneficial for his kingdom and other people than just what's beneficial for us. I absolutely still pray for every situation that I get into because I want God's blessing in it. I want his hand in it. I ask him to be a part of it, even if it's something I can totally handle on my own, because he can do better. But am I also praying for other people? Am I praying that they know him, that they hear from him, that they're blessed in him? So keep that in mind as well. Let's see, it's to my Father's glory that this is to my Father's glory that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you to do this so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. So he's not telling us to obey his commands because he doesn't want us to have fun. He knows how we're made. He knows how we're built. And we all have those things like a dog returns to his vomit, right? We return to our sin. So he's not telling us like, hey, that's sin because I don't agree with it. He knows he created us and what the devil's put out there and what's tempting to our human nature and the things that we want to control, and we just want to hang on to this thing, and that thing that I hang on to separates me from God. And the more I go to that thing, the more separation there is between me and God. And until I repent, ask for forgiveness, and make sure I forgive others so that I can be forgiven, I try to keep his commands so I can walk closely with him, so that I can hear from his Holy Spirit, so he can direct me, protect me, tell me, hey, don't go there right now. Go over here, stay here, do this, don't do that. And it's not a big list of don't do's. It's protect yourself, because your joy will be complete as you walk with God and follow his commands. Let's flip that on its head. If you don't follow God, don't follow his commands, your joy will be incomplete. Okay? So it's for our own good that these things are out there. It's not like God's up there in the sky like a big party pooper saying, you know what, I don't want you guys to have any fun. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. It's more like he put us on earth, gave us this haven, and then Satan tempted us and we followed Satan and said, hey, I'm going to believe Satan over what God says. And he's saying like, hey, look, these are traps. These are bad for you. These aren't good for you. And these will also separate you from me. You won't be able to hear me as well. And the more that you do them and ignore my voice, the lighter my voice gets, and the volume keeps going down until you don't even feel it anymore. You don't even hear it anymore. So try to keep that in mind. God's doing it for our good, for our health, for our safety, for our joy. He's not just some big party pooper in the sky who's saying, hey, don't do that. I know walking with God, reading my Bible, going to church, I'm far from perfect. Jesus is the hero of my story, not me. You can ask anyone who spends time with me. Totally not perfect at all. Sin every day. But I'm trying. And I was going somewhere with that, but I lost my train of thought. But chapter 15, verse 12 says, my command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I have learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you. I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. Then the Father will give you whatever you ask for in my name. This is my command, love each other. Right now, we all look around, I look around, and I see so many people, for a long time, focusing on themselves, being selfish, not worrying about hurting someone else in order to better their situation. And I can tell you that personally, when I put somebody else's comfort, truth, serving them in front of my own, not in a sacrificial way, but refraining from being selfish and taking care of somebody else, there is a joy in that, and in genuinely loving other people in my actions, in my words, being patient with them, not giving them what I think they deserve, but being kinder. It fills me in a good way. It helps me feel that joy that's being described here, where I'm doing God's purpose instead of my own purpose that's self-serving. So yeah, absolutely. Throughout the day, I look for things to make myself comfortable. But in my interactions with others, I do make sure that I spend time loving them, they're giving them comfort, and trying to show them the love that God's put in me out to them through my actions and my words. So I want to encourage you guys to do the same thing. Thanks for staying tuned in. I hope this helps you on, it's either as a download in the car that you got to listen to on your way somewhere, or you got to share it with a friend who needed to hear it. But thanks again for tuning in, and please subscribe and like below.